All right, aloha, friends. Good morning. Hopefully, you're enjoying your Friday here. It's game time with the Goss, presented by GM Sports Media and Get Recruited websites. Very excited for today's show. One of my good friends joining me, Mark Henry, man. Big football fan, football knowledge of all high school football. Uh, First off, thanks for joining me, Mark. Good to see you. It's been it's been a while.
Yeah,
Um, we've been doing this uh, for a long time, um, and you've covered so many great games. But can you kind of boil it down to like your best game you ever watched as part of the media?
well, I would say, I have to go to the Hail Mary. I was actually standing right in the end zone when that happened. If you go back and rewind the footage, you can see me in a gray sweatshirt pointing like that at the big catch. I got calls and texts from people around the country. It's like, dog, I saw you on ESPN. My parents, my family blowing me up. Dude, you on ESPN? And I'm like, really? So I had to go back and look at it, but I think I have it saved somewhere. It might be on my Twitter profile. The catch, that was, at that particular time, you were there as well. Duncanville and Coach Samples, they scored with about a minute and 40, minute and 30 left. And then the legend of Demetrius Davis was born at that point. He was a sophomore quarterback for North Shore. And the rivalry itself was born. This is something that goes down in history and annuals of Texas high school football as the catch, as the catapult, if you will, to North Shore being back relevant in high school football, and Duncanville's relevance, in high school football at the top. But that's the game that probably in a person with Highland Park and Manville coming a strong second with you know that's a big game as well. I think that was the coming out party of John Stephen Jones.
Yeah.
We're talking about a gutty guy. He was. We were there as well for that one. When he came off the field at halftime, Manville's pass rush was just phenomenal. He was, beaten, bloody. It was coming off the field. He had worked, but the resilience, that would be my strong second. But you can't go wrong with the catch there with Demetrius Davis and North Shore.
Yeah, I had Nolan Ruth on the other week, and asked him what one of the best games, and for sure that's you ask a lot of us media guys, that's probably top three easy. Uh,
Absolutely, absolutely.
and I mean, I remember the Highland Park game too because Highland Park was down and they scored late, got the onside, or I don't know if it was onside, but they got the ensuing kickoff and then
Right,
scored again. Just kind of
right,
watching
right.
Jerry's grandson John Steven lead
Yeah,
Highland Park. It was
right.
awesome.
I think that performance goes down in Texas high school football history in the state championship game. Legendary stuff. JSJ was, one of those phenomenal players. What a run in high school football history. Randy Allen, I would say, in that coaching staff to make those adjustments at halftime and come back. That was some coaching as well. So, those two games stick out in person with my own, two eyes. That's the top two for me.
Let me run down some of your sites here. Again, Mark Henry. He's the host of Top Texas Prospects podcast, the On Your Marc Show, and Third Coast Gridiron. He's also a scout for Prep Redzone Texas and a lead scout for the platform DR Sports. Man, you're out there. You're a utility. You're just doing everything.
Well, yeah, gossip man. I got I cut my teeth with FridayNightGlory.com. Of course, shout out to Randy and Kenny Matthews and those guys, and my brother Matt Davidson. That's how we met. Matt and myself met, at a Cedar Hill scrimmage, and we kind of, brothered up from there. And we always said that we worked together. We just kind of, had that chemistry, and it still lives on today with the Top Texas Prospect Show. It's just the top Texas prospects is we like to shed light on hidden gems. We're going to talk to the big guys just because we rub elbows with those guys, but we always like to give, love to the guy that hadn't been seen yet. We try to give them some exposure, the interviews as well. We try to keep, the listening audience updated with that as well. And coaches and players. And, we've been on a heck of a run. for a while. And the On Your Marc Show is a show that features me, myself, and my guy Coach Johnson from Epic Sports Apparel. There, I talk recruiting, how to get recruited, steps and things you need to take. We talk training. We have some of the best trainers on, some of the best coaches on. The most recent show is up on the On Your Marc Show YouTube channel. We talked to cornerbacks coach Marcus Patton from Colorado State University. It gave you the blueprint of things that you need to do to get recruited and things like that. Of course, the third Coast Gridiron is focused on H-Town. It's H-Town's podcast. Everything you want to know about high school football week to week, and that's a seasonal thing. And then, Prep Redzone Texas. Prep Redzone is on the come up as, a site that's giving kids exposure as well. So, I'm all over Texas with that. And then, the platform at DR Sports, shout out to my guy, Jonathan Mumphrey. He gave me the opportunity to come on. And I'm the lead scout there, lead writer on the platform, which is theplatform.dr. It's a website that we, run recruiting 7-on-7. I travel around the country with that, with DR Sports, Education, Respect Sports. So, I'm all over the place. I'm pretty busy. See me out at camps, Under Armour, all of the, individual camps, David Robinson, shout out to my guy, Marvin Hooks. He's had a camp a couple of weeks ago with some of the best receivers in the state of Texas and the country. So, the way that, I stay well-rounded and stay, up on the prospects or teams and stuff is to get out and, be in the mud with it. You know me very well. I'm a field guy. If it's not raining or snowing and we're outside, I'm on the field. I'm in the trenches, and that's kind of how I do everything.
Awesome, man. Love it. Keep doing the good work, brother. When did you start at Friday Night Glory?
Oh, wow. So, shout out to my guy, Dan Keck. Dan and my son, both our sons played football and baseball growing up together. So we've been friends for a long time. My love for football goes back to my playing days, probably, as a child. The only time I could stay up late was to watch Monday Night Football. My dad would let me stay up late on Monday nights. He would go to sleep, and I'd be able to tell you what happened after the game, stat by stat, who did this, did that. So, I kind of been entrenched in that kind of X's and O's type of thing for football. I don't watch, before I got deep into the media, the high school media, I would be a fan at the game, but now I get to go and be on the sidelines, get to know the coaches and players, as they progress through high school and into college, some of the guys that we've covered now in the NFL, and on Saturdays for college football. So, by chance, Dan Keck, he's usually, shout out to Dan, shout out to LL. They're also part of the Top Texas Prospects. We're the backbone of it between myself and Matt. But Dan one day just pulled me aside at a Brewer High School game. He was like, "Hey, dude, you want to do an interview real quick?" I was like, "Sure, yeah." And you know me very well. I could come off the cuff with it pretty quick. So, man, we did our first interview with those guys from Brewer right off the field, and that's kind of got started. And Randy was real integral in getting that done. And, I was one of the faces of Friday Night Glory for a while. Kenny's the guy over there, and Matt, myself, I believe Nick Harris, who's with the Dallas Cowboys now, was one of the guys at the forefront. He was still in high school then. That tells you how long, I've been doing this at that particular time. Now Nick's with the Dallas Cowboys. Nick Walters with he's in Arkansas, I believe, now on TV. And my guy Greg Hammer, shout out to him. We all came through that Friday Night Glory tree, and now we all kind of branched off to doing things. And still, I talk to Randy and Kenny all the time, and shout out to the Chocolate Bear, that's your guy as well. If they call and say, "Hey, I'm in the area, I need something," that's family. And I have no problem with dropping something and doing that for Randy and Kenny and those guys, because that's how I got started. I wouldn't be here talking to you and doing what I do without FridayNightGlory.com. So that's always home. And that's kind of how I got started. And, I've been rolling probably about, I would say, 8 years now. But that was the introduction. And, now, I can walk into South Oak Cliff. I can walk into Cedar Hill. I can walk into North Crowley or, O.D. Wyatt or, Western Hills, anywhere in the Metroplex, and really all over the state, Houston, San Antonio, Austin. It just depends on where we are. My face is known now, and that's how you kind of get the introduction. That's the blueprint to getting into it, because, we rub elbows with guys like Nolan Ruth and, Jordan Scruggs and those guys, Jawan Davis from Wheaton Bowes, Jeter, I could go on and on with guys in the media now. I think that the DFW media outside of the networks, is probably the strongest in the country, in my opinion. So, that Texas mob, you know what it is, and that's kind of how we roll with it.
So I mean, you've probably watched, thousands of high school football players. Who's one or two of them that just kind of blew your mind just watching them every time?
Well, I would say one of my favorite players to watch was Cadric Cobbs at Denton Guyer a few years ago. I kind of nicknamed him the finisher. He was a guy that really came on the scene that last couple of years at Guyer. Eli Stowers and those guys. Remember they made the run, and Jackson Arnold was a freshman in that state championship game. We were there, and Eli Stowers just goes down, and they bring in Jackson Arnold. He was green. And to see that maturation to where he is now at Oklahoma, we saw that from the forefront. Cadric Cobbs is a guy that I really, I loved his game. Running backs, you know what I mean? Jonathan Gray was probably one of the best players that I saw, towards the beginning of when I was doing it. Then I was a fan going to those games. But, I recall one game, this was back when Boswell was in their district. I went to the game, Boswell. It was at Boswell. It was pretty packed, and I was running a little late. So I'm getting my tickets to go sit out, find out where my friends are sitting. And by the time I got through the crowd and got up to the stands, Jonathan Gray had 2 touchdowns. And I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. And to see him in person before he got to Texas, was phenomenal. One of the best careers I ever saw of a high school athlete, up close and personal. And I was, just at the gym watching Jackson Smith and Jimba for the Seahawks make a one-handed catch. I was telling myself, I was like, I saw this dude do this in high school, and now he's doing it on a high level with the Seahawks. I think he's going to be, if he's not up for Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, then something must have happened. I think that he's on the forefront of being that guy. But I was, at the gym just now before we got on, and I saw that happen. So, just like I spoke earlier, you see these guys now that we've covered in high school are now making it to the collegiate ranks, to the professional ranks. And they're doing things there that they saw them do on a high school field on Friday nights in the state of Texas. This is something that goes on around the country that you can attest to. There's an argument of where the best high school football is between Florida, California, maybe Georgia, Ohio, maybe Pennsylvania. But, there's a you can scratch your head and say that Texas high school football is not the best, and you haven't seen it. From the pageantry of the stadiums to the bands. We go out Colleyville. If you don't have your earplugs, Colleyville Heritage, the horns. You know what I mean? The bells down in Stephenville. Those are some things that you have to embrace when you talk about Texas high school football. And we're fortunate enough to be able to live those out and watch these young men, progress in their lives. And then sometimes they come back as coaches and things like that. So, you get, relationships with these athletes that you're well versed in from, softball to volleyball. And you see these guys and young ladies progress through that. And it's amazing. So, Jackson Smith and Jigba would be one. Kyler Murray, we saw him on a run in high school. Probably the best high school player pound for pound that I saw. Vince Young, before I really got into the media, but as a fan, was probably one of the best high school players I ever saw. Reggie McNeil from Lufkin, one of the best high school football players I ever saw, with my own 2 eyes. And at that time, I was just going around looking at games and being able to see these guys do it on a big time scale and big time moments before they went on to, be greats at the collegiate and professional levels.
Yeah, Jackson Smith and Jimba starred at Ohio State and Rockwall, and wishing him the best career possible in the NFL. Yeah, I remember. Kyler Murray. My first year was his senior year, and so I'd wish I got a little more with Kyler. The only game I saw him play was that state championship game, and just coming from a place like Hawaii and then watching the state football championship at Jerry's World. I joked around. I said, pretty sure this Allen game, though, there's more people in this stadium than there is on the entire island of Oahu, and so it was just.
Right.
But yeah, just watching Kyler and obviously getting to watch him at OU and now with the Cardinals, yeah, he's still balling, man.
Absolutely. I'll give you one more guy too that I really liked a lot in myself and Dan Keck when we were Friday Night Glory, we got a chance to cover a lot was Spencer Sanders at Denton Ryan. Up close and personal, I did a lot of those games, both of their runs to the state semifinals that they kind of came up short. That was my pick for state. I really liked that team at that time. Dan Hennigan, had a phenomenal run with those guys, and then eventually punching it through with Seth and those guys and JT and Billy Bowman to get that, finally get that state championship. But Spencer Sanders was a great high school football player. He was Gatorade Player of the Year his senior year, and still playing. I think he's at Ole Miss now. He transferred from Oklahoma State, but he had, a pretty good run at Oklahoma State. But Spencer Sanders was a phenomenal quarterback. You're talking about a guy that was cool and calm and collective under pressure. That he really had a feel for the game. Gabriel Douglas was his big time receiver out wide at that particular time. Then Ryan had a very, very good team. And, their Achilles heel was, again, Highland Park and JSJ. They ran into him twice. One time Spencer tore his ACL in that semifinal game. But I was there for those runs. And he was one of the, players at that time that I was really just all in all with his ability to control the game, being down, being ahead, just his feel for the game. And I could tell that this guy was going to be a major player on the collegiate level just by his, poise and his overall gamesmanship at the high school level. So he's still playing, at Ole Miss, I believe, this year, transfer from Oklahoma State. But that was a guy I got to see a lot of up close and personal when he was at Denton Ryan.
Talking to Mark Henry with the top Texas prospects, the On Your Marc Show and Third Coast Gridiron. Give me a percent out of 100%. Duncanville repeat as state champ.
Well, first of all, I think that they're loaded again, man. I would say 90% is what I would say right now. Their percentage of going back. They're just loaded, man. I think the thing about it, of course, it depends on who you talk to. Is who's number one and number two. But Caden Durham is a phenomenal running back. I think he's one of the best running backs in the country. It's not just about the speed, but if you had a chance to be on the field and watch Caden Durham up close, it's his patience in the hole. When he breaks and he sets his blocks up neatly, and when he gets into the second level, it's over with. But I've watched him the last 2 years in that particular run last year, and I thought that his ability to be patient in the hole, of course, in space, he's a guy that can move with the best of them. But I really think he's taking care of his body. If you want to run into him now, I haven't had a chance to get to Duncanville yet. I will probably in the next couple of weeks. But I think he's worked on his body as well. Talk about an elite sprinter, a nationally ranked sprinter, in the 100 and 200. And of course, they won silver medal and 4x1 and a gold medal in the 4x2 this year. But I think that he is the guy that put them over the top. But the maturation and the development of Keelan Russell, the junior quarterback, is the key down the stretch. A big run in the state championship game to kind of open it up against North Shore, and that may have been the difference in the game, along with the rushing of Durham. And then you have the number one player in the country, in my opinion, in Colin Simmons out wide. He's unblockable. I ran into him as a sophomore, and I thought, he was a senior when I started talking to him. But this guy was phenomenal 2 years ago, and he's the best player in the country, in my opinion. Hands down with Caden. He and Caden Durham, that's a 1-2 punch that you can't get. And then, we're talking about Decorian Moore, who's a super junior, one of the top receivers in the country. They still have him. You got Kadavian Dotson, Javion Holiday. They're loaded up front with Michael January, you know what I'm saying, who's headed to Texas. Tyron Polly as well. They're loaded in, we're not even getting into the coaching staff and, my guy Todd Peterman's over there as well with Coach Sample. So I think they're locked and loaded. And, a lot of people may not want to hear it, but we could be on a collision course of D-Town versus H-Town again. So.
Yeah, Colin Simmons got the 24/7 Sports up. He's a 5-star edge rusher, 24/7. Has either LSU or Texas where he'll commit. And then, as you mentioned, Decory Moore, 5-star receiver. He's the class of 2025. 24/7 Sports has him ranked as the number one 2025 in the state of Texas. So yeah, that's Duncanville's mo every year. They just reload. They never rebuild. They just reload. Uh,
Right. And then listen, they got some young guys coming up that are true freshmen. The middle school program is phenomenal over there. It's a whole thing where it's kind of like, how you build, back with Voltron or something. You put it together and you put everything. You're molding clay. It's like you're putting Humpty Dumpty back together again. And the catalyst for that is Coach Samples to consistency. I know the big thing was to get over the hump, and he got a state championship. But from people that I've talked to, he's still as hungry as he was when he was a young coach. So I think that speaks volumes for the consistency of that program, the consistency of the coaching staff. You can't look past coaching staffs when it comes to these guys that have perennial powers or consistent success. Look at Alito. They made a transition from Coach Wood back to Coach Buchanan. There's still that consistency, and the coaching staffs have been there. They've plucked one or two coaches off of these staffs in the past, but they continue to stay together. Look at South Oak Cliff, Coach Todd and those guys. I had a chance to be around those guys a lot. Coach Ward, Coach Spencer. The consistency of the coaching staff is something that you have to look at when it comes to being, a dynasty type program. And you can see at the top of Texas high school football, it's usually the coaching staff and that continuity that they have. You watch these guys maneuver on the sideline, in heated situations, time crunching situations. You've seen it. They operate like a well-oiled machine, and I think that's the thing that puts some of these programs over the top.
so it sounds like we're set for another Duncanville North Shore title game in December, 6A D1. I mean,
I,
do we want to see that, or do we want more parity in that division?
well, I will say that the consistency is there because they've been able to develop these programs, and these kids have bought into those systems. Yeah, I don't mind seeing it if it's good football. The best of the best that's what you get at the state championship level, and that's what you're going to have. Coach Willie Gaston's taking over for Coach K, who went on to Rice University, and he's not going to miss a beat because they've already got the installation of everything that they've been running for the last few years. Coach Willie Gaston was the OC. So the offense is not going to change very much. Caleb Bailey's back from an injury. He's the freshman phenom who won it for North Shore the first round when he was a freshman. Last year, David Amador, who's at UTSA now, was a converted receiver who played quarterback and led them all the way. You got DeAndre Hardeman Jr., who's a junior running back who's going to be the catalyst back there. You got Chris Barnes, a wide receiver, Terrence Guillory, and then Devin Sanchez. If you hadn't heard of him, look it up. He's one of the top, if not the number one cornerback, definitely in the state of Texas. He's a 5-star recruit as well. He's only a junior. He's coming back. So you got wide receiver Dion DeBlanc, who's a top flight wide receiver. If you're looking up, on the recruiting sites, these guys are locked and loaded. I mean, they, like you said, they don't rebuild, they reload. They reload with top flight talent and top flight coaching. So it's a possibility you're going to see the two teams. We talk about these type of things all the time between yourself and myself and other guys that we talk to. You may get bored with it, but until you beat the big dog, you got to knock them off. And these two teams haven't been able to be knocked off. The only time that North Shore lost, they lost to, I believe, Austin Westlake, and that was, a big run there. That was a big thing with those guys. So I think that these two teams are on a collision course again. It's become a rivalry. It's become a staple of high school football in Texas as far as we get to state championship level talking about teams. We look like we might be on a collision course. But, it may be a few teams that could rise up and knock one of these, powers off, but they'll have to bring their A game to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome last season to see especially here in DFW, just so many state champs. The top four were from DFW, talking 6A D1, D2, 5A D1, D2. If you had to rank them, one being the first one being the best chance to repeat, and four being the least, how would you rank them in terms of repeating as state champs? You have Duncanville, DeSoto, Aledo, and South Oak Cliff.
I would go with Duncanville one. Like I talked about, I had a chance to see Keaton Russell at the Under Armour camp in March, and his body changed from the December to that particular time. And the things that I've seen and been told is he's on the place to be one of those guys. I think he's going to come out and really really stabilize what's already an explosive offense with De'Corian Moore and Caden Durham, his backfield running mates. So I think Deville's one. I would say Aledo's two, just because I had a chance to get over there and see and talk to House Henney and those guys. They got a plethora of weapons. Racine Guillory, the sophomore, is one of the top running backs in the country in the class of 2026. He's back there. You got Hawk Patrick Daniels, who was a 1,400-yard rusher over there as well. They're locked and loaded. I don't think things will change in Aledo, and it's just a tradition over there. If you ever been to a game in Aledo on Friday nights, it's just like Friday Night Lights, the movie. You got the kids wishing to be a Bearcat in that community growing up outside playing football. When you walk in, you see the state plaques and all of those type of things. The city shuts down. It's all in. Everything's orange and black over there when you go to an Aledo game. I think DeSoto would come in at three. I think that DJ Bailey, the Sam Houston State commit, is one of the best quarterbacks in the state, in my opinion. I know that, a lot of times when recruiting comes up, everybody looks at measurables. He may be undersized, but if you've ever been around DJ, I had a chance to see a lot of him in 7-on-7, coming in. I met DJ as an eighth grader. And to see him progress to where he is now, we talk about a guy that threw for 45 touchdowns with only 2 interceptions last year and win a state championship. Listen, I think he's one of the best in the state. Definitely that doesn't get as much love as he should. You got Tiger Ryden Jr., who's one of the best backs, and he's only a junior. We're talking about a guy that's got double-digit offers for some of the best collegiate programs around the country. You got Dalen Singleton coming back as well. Brandon Booker in the middle. It's one of the best linebackers that you'll see in the state of Texas. So DeSoto's loaded as well. And then I would bring South Oak Cliff as a repeat, in at number 4. And I think you could jumble this around as much as you can, probably between 2, 3, and 4. But that top echelon team is Duncanville. Until they get knocked off, I don't think there's anything you can say about those guys. I think South Oak Cliff is loaded as well. Coach Todd and those guys, they have a great program, and I love to watch and listen. I love to watch and listen to what Coach Todd and Coach Ward talk, because you have to pay attention the football knowledge they drop. It's like you want to be a fly on the wall over there, and I think they're locked and loaded again to be one of the best teams in the state, and they'll be pushing for another state championship, a three-peat. So those are the top 4 teams, regardless of division, in the state of Texas, in my opinion.
We only got a couple minutes left here, but again, you kind of cover a lot of the Houston area as well. Outside of North Shore, who are some other teams we need to watch for in that Houston area?
Atascocita, Zion Browns, a Northwestern State commit, one of the best quarterbacks in the Houston area for Atascocita. I think he's on the cusp of getting those guys. That's going to be the Achilles heels. They run in the North Shore every time. I think the Katy Tigers will be a team that you'll know coming out as well. I like Klein Collins and my guy Tucker Parks as well. He's a Western Kentucky commit. He really showed up last year. Led them to, I think they got to the second or third round of the playoffs before they bowed out. Westfield's going to be good again, a perennial power in the Houston area. If you want to go a little further south, don't sleep on Galveston Ball this year. Jonah Williams is one of the top players in the state of Texas and in the country in the class of 2025. He's one of the top flight DBs. He can play a little receiver as well. Galveston Ball went undefeated in the regular season. I think they got knocked out in the playoffs, but they've got some really good talent down in Galveston in that area. I think, besides Houston, San Antonio, another team that you should look out for is Cibolo Steele. Chad Warner, if you don't know who he is, check him out. He's one of the top quarterbacks as well in the class of 2025. Cibolo Steele's really been building something down there. Just hadn't been able to shake out of, get out of that region, man. Austin Westlake's going to be very good again, around the state of Texas. So even check out Odessa Permian. I've been hearing some good things about them out west as well.
All right, I just need a one word answer here, and this goes back and forth every year. But as of today, who has the better football, DFW or Houston?
Well, it's on paper now. So DFW's got a clean sweep. They had multiple championships this year, and South Oak Cliff's a two-time repeating champion. So right now, DFW is ahead when you talk championships, and that's what means more than anything. And this is coming from someone that grew up in the Houston area. So Houston football runs through my blood. So, for me to say DFW, I mean, they got it, man. So, DFW is at the top until they get knocked off, until you beat the big dog. You gotta, you gotta bring those to, you gotta bring your lunch to the table. Right now, DFW is running it.
That's a little more than one word.
Well, once you get me rolling, man, it's hard to stop, man. This is what I love to do, man. I appreciate you having me on. You know what I'm saying? And when you get me to talking, man, that's what I do best.
Encyclopedia of Texas high school football. We love it.
Absolutely.
Just quickly, just run it down. You'll be in the Houston area this weekend for some scrimmages. Where are you going to be at?
Yeah, I'll be at Booker T. Washington High School tomorrow. They have a scrimmage, a little media day. That's actually where I went to high school. They were undefeated last year and they had a really good team until they got beat in the first round. That was the first time they've been undefeated since I was in high school. That was a pretty good while ago. So I'll be there Saturday. I may get a chance to go around to a couple of more schools in Houston on tomorrow. But, I'll be bouncing back between DFW and Houston a lot this year. So, keep me on your radar, man. Follow me on Twitter at Marquine44, Top Texas Prospect Show on Twitter and Instagram. We're about to get that crank back up. Shout out to my guy, Matt Davidson. That's the mayor of Grand Prairie. If you want to know anything about Grand Prairie sports, hit Matt Davidson up. I'm telling you, he's the announcer over there. Shout out to LL Mayor and Dan Keck as well. Shout out to my guy, Coach Jay from Epic Sports Apparel, my co-host on the On Your Marc Show, man.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah, like you said, just follow Mark on Twitter at MarkHen44. That's Mark Henry with Texas top Texas prospects. We love it, brother. Thanks for joining me, man.
Anytime, man. Tap back in with me mid-season. We'll talk again.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, listeners. This is Game Time with the Goss. Check us out on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, GM Sports Media. We'll see you next time and enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. Aloha.